The Star Wars Reporter podcast you are watching.
This good feeling, which fundamentally Star Wars should deliver a good feeling, an uplifting feeling in you and your family, your kids, whatever.
I have a good feeling.
Get ready for a good feeling. I got a good feeling about this, which is the opposite of that continuous line from all the Star Wars movies. Yes, good feeling. I just thought that I always have that clip saved because it seems appropriate to bring it up from time to time about Star Wars. And we're going to be talking a lot about Filoni and Favreau and Star Wars and the Mandalorian on episode 104 of the Star Wars Reporter podcast. So I'm so excited. I'm losing my voice. That's how great it is.
Exactly.
So, yeah, we're less than 2 weeks away, and I'm really excited to talk about it. So thank you, Trooper Todd, for joining. And
well, thank you very much for the invite. It's always a great time sitting here and talking about Star Wars and fandom of Star Wars. It's pretty cool. And what's the feel good feeling, like there's lots going on with Mandalorian starting up March 1st, not too far away. We have the Bad Batch we're all enjoying right now. There's lots going on in the Star Wars world, especially this last week.
Yeah, you could tell that it's coming to the premiere because all this stuff's happening, right? So of course, Jon Favreau gets a star on the Walk of Fame. It's kind of like set up. It kind of reminds me when Mark Hamill got his right before The Last Jedi came out. Empire magazine is getting the exclusive to all the interviews, which we'll talk a little bit about today. I've got some stuff pulled up. It has previews of interviews with Filoni, Favreau, and Katie Sackhoff. So, and then we'll watch a trailer and a clip. I mean, they're just kind of releasing bits and pieces, and it's kind of going crazy. And it's really cool because they're tagging us on Twitter whenever they release something. So when I guess they're going to do that like they did last time. When there's a new episode coming out, they tag us to remind us as if we wouldn't know. But
exactly.
So yeah, so I'm as much as we've had really awesome Star Wars with Andor, I'm really enjoying the Bad Batch right now. I'm very looking forward to some good old fashioned space western pew pew and whatever else comes our way. So it's looking really interesting. I'm just happy for a big Mando war of some sort.
One thing I've been noticing lots on social media, and I think that's why this Empire article and stuff's coming out too, is because a lot of people seem to be a little confused, like going, "What's Grogu doing about?" Like they didn't see the Book of Fett. They might have seen how Grogu came back into Mando's life, sort of thing, right? So,
right.
If you haven't seen it, you should watch the Book of Fett before the beginning of season 3, at least episode 5 and. Was it 5 and I think it was maybe 4 and 5, or the 5?
Yeah,
and 6?
It was
one of those things. Yes, but
it was it's like 4 and 5 because 6 wasn't that like the coming back to
so anyway, so if you haven't had a chance to watch Book of Fett, it's decent. It's good. I wouldn't say it's decent. It's good. There's a couple episodes maybe not as strong as other ones, but Book of Fett is really good and should be part of your viewing habits.
Modern kids. Yes. Yeah, there was it was good. It still felt like Star Wars, which is the whole thing, right? That feel good feeling that Filoni was talking about. I wish I had it written down somewhere, but all I think of is feel good. So
feel good.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that. And speaking of Favreau, in the Empire article, he kind of explains. Todd and I were talking about this before we went live. I sort of don't believe him, but he was explaining why Grogu came back, and we'll go over that. I'll pull up the preview article. Which the magazine's actually come out today. I haven't left the house. I was working from home today, and I've been stuck in this room. This is where I do my
What-
day job.
And I've been stuck in this room. I've been in this room since 8:30 this morning. So it's been good. So, but if you're gonna be stuck someplace, Steve, why not our sanctum, right? Our sanctuary, right?
But this guy always wants food. It's just it's
See,
crazy.
these guys don't eat much, so they're all skinny.
All right, so again, big topic for tonight: the Mandalorian. I really like this poster. I was hoping to get pictures of us standing sideways and stick us in there, but I mean,
We need a wider lens, though, probably.
much wider lens. So I'll actually bring up. I just really wanted to talk about this really quickly first. It's the Favreau story.
Yes, let's look at the Favreau story.
Now, him.
No, I haven't had a chance to read anything, Steve. So this is all new and fresh for me. So if you can talk me through it, I'd love to hear what he had to say.
Oh, that's not it. I'm trying to get. There's a he got a star on the Walk of Fame, and here it is. Sorry about that.
Okay.
I thought it was really cool. We posted on StarWarsReporter.com, and with all the photos and stuff, I'll bring up afterwards. But here's a little preview of him getting his star on the Walk of Fame. I don't think I'd be able to get up off the floor.
He might not be either. He's not in the best shape of his life right now, either.
I find this. I didn't know that was Robert Downey Jr. at first.
Well, bald guy?
Right.
Well, it is. I can tell.
Yes.
His mannerism and his movement is definitely him, but he must have his head shaved for a project.
This is so funny. Now, if someone was smart, they would run out and grab that when they were all gone and sell it on eBay.
I think of Hollywood
exactly
as,
right.
As an industry town, which it is, but it's also a neighborhood. It's also where we grew up, where we hung out, where we spent our time when we didn't have work. And the old, you look at a film like Swingers. We were hanging out in these neighborhoods, and we felt like we're outsiders, And to be part of it as the next generation comes here, really feels special, and hopefully we inspire the next generation. But in the States here, you grow up knowing, I'm sure around the world it's the same way, what the Walk of Fame is and what a star is, and here it is, and I feel like I'm no longer an outsider. I feel like I'm part of it, and now there's a responsibility to make sure it keeps going, and that we bring in new storytellers and incorporate new technologies to keep it fresh.
So that's I mean that's pretty cool. I feel very, very happy for him. I mean, this picture here we posted when it came out. I mean, that's pretty awesome. Someone who deserves it. That's what when I posted the article, some of the comments were like, finally, or deserved. And I made a comment in the article that I kind of felt the MCU owes a lot to Jon Favreau because of the success of Iron Man, right? So I think someone disagreed and said, oh, it was just what he did led to Feige making everything great. And it's like, yeah, but everything hinged on his movie, and they probably didn't even expect it. Like I'm how much did they have planned of the MCU if this thing didn't work out?
Well, that's just it. They had no plans really. So it was a shot in the dark because they weren't even using the Iron Man. It was really a B-class character.
Yeah,
he was not a top character. He was like, he has his own. Yes, he has his own comic series, and he's in the Avengers. But he was never a grade A comic book character. Wolverine, Spider-Man, you name those big characters, right? The Hulk. Those are the premier ones. It was a shot in the dark, because they've done other ones like the Ang Lee the Ang Lee Hulk didn't do so great at the box office. Spider-Man Sam Raimi had some good success, right? It was kind of a big shot in the dark, and it was very successful. Again, you bring in the right talent. You bring in Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark. You bring in Favreau, who had great vision. Very successful. Made Xanthura, that transferring the game, like kind of a sequel to Jumanji. Again,
That was him.
he did that Xanthura, and it's he did an amazing job in that story. And eyes are on it. Okay, he can do special effects. He can do this kind of genre. He can add tension. He can add some comic relief sort of thing. Quite frankly, he was a good acquisition to, hey, let's give him a shot. Let's try and make sure Iron Man works. They put money behind Iron Man. They made it again, story was important, character development was important. It had to look good. They spent the right money. They did really well. Boom. Here's the Marvel Universe, right? And even from there, he created this character, Happy, who appeared in the first two Iron Man movies, and he was a character that they could actually, carry along throughout the Marvel Universe, right? So, he's kind of a staple. So he kickstarted the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the biggest money-making movie series in the history of the world, right? So, and then now he's brought Star Wars from the depths of despair after the sequel trilogy. Like, if anybody's deserving, him, right? Like, really, he's done so much. And just the fact that we've talked about this before, just the love for the character. It's not just the money. It's not just a job. He loves the characters. He loves the base material. He puts his fandom into what he's doing, because therefore, hopefully, it's going to transition to the fans enjoying what he's doing. And so far, thumbs up, right?
Right. I mean, a lot of actors or directors or producers say, "Oh, I'm a really fan of blank," and stuff. And sometimes I think fans can tell when someone's a fan or just casual or just whatever. And for me, aside from what he's done so far for Star Wars, of it being perfect and awesome, I know he's a fan because only a real fan would say their favorite character was R2-D2. Instead of saying, "Oh, Luke Skywalker or Han Solo," that's really easy to say.
Yeah.
But when you go R2-D2, you're like, "Oh, okay." So, but of course, it shows in his work and his respect for the work and his respect for George Lucas and George Lucas's vision and stuff. Even having him come onto the set for season 1 and showing him stuff like that, like, I'm sure that was intimidating, or, maybe George does that every once in a while. It's not a big thing, but I just think that Filoni and Favreau have shown him and Star Wars a lot of respect. And out of all the promotion that we've been seeing, I've noticed one thing missing: Kathleen Kennedy. Now, I haven't gotten the magazine, the Empire magazine. Maybe she's in there. Maybe there's something else coming, but it's just kind of weird to not have her at the forefront of all these things, even at his star. Because I'm pretty, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she was at Mark Hamill getting his star at his ceremony. I know Lucas was, but yeah.
That's an interesting thing you bring up, right? Like, absolutely. So, again, whether she's involved or not, I think possibly bigger header up people will see that maybe with the project she's been working on hasn't been fantastic. Like, as much as I love the Obi-Wan story, the biggest complaint I have about it is kind of tampered with the timeline, the continuity sort of thing, right? Sort of thing, the overall canon sort of thing. So, and Kathleen Kennedy is a big part of that. And she seems to be the type of person that isn't too worried about canon and storyline and making sure everything is cohesive, right? Sort of thing. So, yeah. So
Right.
the less involvement she has, again, it has nothing to do with her being a woman. I'm just having like the results. Like, I'm sorry, like Ryan Johnson. I didn't like Ryan Johnson. I have no interest in Ryan Johnson coming back and doing a trilogy for Star Wars. No interest whatsoever, right?
Okay,
Because
so you hate men and you hate women.
I
What's
hate
up?
him. I just hate. I want fans. Like, you know what? Like, head of producers, should look for somebody who loves source material. You look at DC. What they're bringing on James Gunn, and James Gunn brings a love to his characters and to the source material. And so, what made him very successful in Guardians of the Galaxy, transposed to the Suicide Squad, and I think he's going to do amazing things for DC. You look at Favreau and Filoni, what they've done from Clone Wars, the animated series, to Mandalorian. And like what Mandalorian is, that beacon of hope that's changing everything. It's what's going to make Star Wars successful and bring up the popularity and buzz of it, and then hopefully they can bring it back to cinemas again. Right now, there's
Right.
nothing on the go for cinema, like for theater production.
Nothing on the go.
Zero.
Just nothing on the radar for sure. And that's the thing. I think that when Favreau came in with the Mandalorian, right, people were already walking out the door, and it was like, oh, peeking back in, like, sorry, what is that? And people like us, we weren't out of Star Wars, but we were maybe confused or like, where are we going to go from here? And then when this Mandalorian came out, I was like, oh, that's cool, like some kind of Boba Fett character.
Yeah.
And then when it came out, it was like, well, it's not really like a Boba Fett character. It's really different. You know what I mean? Like, sure, he's a Mandalorian, but it was so different. And, I just think that it really revitalized. And even those outsiders that the new Lucasfilm has been trying to find. Now, granted, they're 99% into Grogu, but at least it's brought, some of that into it. So yeah, I mean, I just think they should be running the company, but I'm gonna not get into that again.
I would love to know who came up with the idea. Let's make a baby Yoda. You know what I'm saying? Because that person is quite brilliant. When you think about it, sort of thing. Because that reveal when you're watching was episode 2, the ending of episode 2 of Mandalorian season 1, where they opens up the egg thing, and then there was this little green-eared little thing, and just like wow.
Now, KK is trying to say it was her,
but it wasn't. She is.
Because Favreau, the influence is just like George Lucas's influence. Like one of the influences he had, it was that what's that Japanese story, something in Cub? I forget what it is, where it's like the samurai has the young child that he's looking after and protecting, and it's influenced like that. So that was the influence. But then, someone is trying to say that they suggested having the Mando looking after. It was going to be like a girl or something, of course. But yeah, I don't think that Favreau and Filoni needed any help, because from what I understand, kind of after all this hoopla with the sequels, Favreau went to Lucasfilm and was like, I had this idea, or I think it was Bob Iger said, I had this idea for a show. So, and I think Bob Iger was really desperate to take attention off the sequels onto something else. And I think he kind of proved himself with the whole MCU thing. So I think they're like, yes, whatever, this sounds really good.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense. Well, again, you're starting to launch a streaming service. You want to have original content. You own Star Wars, you own Marvel. Let's, do something cool. But again, right now, the people seem to be in charge of Filoni and Favreau. So, they seem to be the spearheaders of the content and the direction of the show. They're doing a great job. But let's get to this part about how Filoni is talking about how the reason why they brought Grogu into Book of Fett.
Yeah, let me find this. So it's one of the articles from the Empire magazine. It's like, so Favreau. Okay. So here's the article here. So Jon Favreau reveals why the Mandalorian and Grogu had to reunite in the Book of Boba Fett. We couldn't just hit a hard reset. And again, maybe this is the truth, but for me, I always thought it was like they wrote out this perfect story, and then they're going to bring, Grogu is going to be somewhere else in the Favreau Filoni verse of Star Wars. And then the executives are like, oh my God, it's the only thing that makes money for us now in merchandise. Why'd you write him out? So, basically, here's the highlight here. It says, in a major new interview alongside the Mandalorian co-creator Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau reflected on the choice to bring our hero and his young ward back together. He said, "We couldn't just hit a hard reset." Sure. He says it's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds for people who may not have seen, like you said, Todd, the Book of Boba Fett. But I think the Book of Boba Fett offered time to pass. You saw what Mando was like without Baby Yoda, and we saw what Grogu. Oh, that's funny. I just noticed he referred to Grogu as Baby Yoda.
He did.
And we saw that Grogu was like without the Mandalorian, and neither of them was doing too good. So them coming back together was really a good plot point that allowed us to jump back into season 3 while maintaining the central relationship. So now it doesn't have the full interview here, but I just find it funny, that's kind of what they're saying is. I mean, what are your thoughts on it, Todd? I mean,
Well,
maybe I'm just laughing about it because I think it's executives that panic. But
yeah, I would think that just look at the Book of Fett. It was written to the story, so that made sense. They had to bring Mando into the Book of Fett for the ending, right? So I think I would believe that's the intention they want to do the whole entire time. Again, Filoni and Favreau, what they're doing is they're bringing characters from all these different series, right? Like, what's going to help sell the Book of Fett? Well, let's bring Mando into it. You know what I'm saying?
right,
Like, let's not only that, they also brought in Cad Bane. They also brought in, they brought in all these other characters into Book of Fett, sort of thing, right? So,
right,
I would believe that was their game plan all along, because again, it was if it didn't, just imagine if it didn't have that Mando situation, going to get Grogu, what would have taken place in those 2 episodes? You know what I'm saying? It'd be hard just to bring Mando into Book of Fett. I think, you know, I don't know. I just believe that there's a part of the game plan.
right.
But again, we don't know. We're not a fly on the wall. We don't know. It's possible the executives were saying, "What the heck?" But again, they would have known about it anyway in the story development. You know what I'm saying? They head off. You'd have to pitch to the story people. They'll say, "Oh, okay, yeah, let's go with that." And what's the plan of bringing them back? And they'll say, "Okay, this is our plan of bringing them back." Or, I'm pretty sure that would have flashed. The executives were not watching the premiere of episode the season finale of season 2, and what the heck, they knew ahead of time. No one was
Yeah.
surprised by it. So
That's I mean, it's probably true. And again, from what I understand, the whole Favreau Filoni verse of just like what they did with the MCU, connecting all the shows, right? So when Rangers of the Republic was canceled because someone was fired, it really threw a wrench in their connecting to the Ahsoka show, to Book of Boba Fett, to The Mandalorian, which was all supposed to connect at a certain point. And it's why the rumor was that Favreau was so upset about the firing of Carano and stuff. It really threw a wrench in the show for their plan. But I mean, so I'm sure that it was there and everyone was going to come back. I had just thought that if Grogu left, he would leave, and then maybe we would see him in Ahsoka.
right.
But
And we still could. Who knows? We don't know.
we probably still could. I mean, there's that other rumor too, but we won't get into because it's only a rumor. But
it's possible. Ahsoka's in season 2. It's possible she may pop up in season 3. You don't know, right? You don't know anything. Anybody right now. One thing I'm finding is anybody can pop up at any time, and we just can't be surprised because they're doing it through their animation. They're doing it through their live action. Again, I still believe their overall goal is trying to build something to have a big, huge trilogy cinematic experience is what I think they're leaning to. I just can't see it not being.
Right.
They're developing so many characters so that they can pull them all in, and they don't have to do any other character development because they have already done it in all these individual episodes.
Right. And I kind of believe, if you're looking at someone like Favreau kind of gives it away, the fact that they might be, having a whole universe that they're going to bring together because of his experience with the MCU. So, yeah, I totally believe what Jon Favreau says. It was part of the plan all along. I just think it was funny that it was like, wow, Baby Yoda's gone. What are they going to sell now? Because
Well,
nothing else was selling.
there's no way they'd ever get rid of him because, like you said, he's just too much of a hot market right now, right? It's like the Marvel, getting in Marvel comics, like like say 10 years ago, getting rid of Venom would be terrible because Venom was such a popular character in the Spider-Man universe and comic books, right? So
Right,
you
right.
couldn't kill that character off because that'd be just something you don't do.
Yeah.
Instead, change him into a bad good guy sort of thing. So right,
That good guy. Yeah, that's true.
so
So speaking of the other guy in this conversation, Dave Filoni, right? You can't think of Star Wars or Lucasfilm without this guy. So this is another good article here. He's talking about how the Clone Wars influences his storytelling on the Mandalorian. Obviously, right? So I think I highlighted here. So he's just kind of talking about what I really like is his storytelling, the consistency in the storytelling, the continuity in storytelling. I'm sure he's not making any cracks at anything. These are the writing things that he finds important. And a lot of times in modern Hollywood, it doesn't seem like we're getting a lot of continuity or consistency. But so he talks a lot about that in the article. What I like is what he says here. He says, I think that in some ways you want each season to have a feeling of an ending. But in a lot of what I've done, I don't like hard endings. He goes on to say, I like reading books in a series and then thinking, oh, there's another book and this is going to keep going. It's always sad for me when an adventure ends and the characters are seemingly done with their journey. So I think there's always that little bit of hope that something can continue. So that's what he says here. And we were talking about this a little bit before we went live. And, this is the kind of story writing or storylines that I feel is, for Star Wars. It helps the story and the characters, right? Like, The Last Jedi, Luke Skywalker, he's gone. He's kind of brought back in the next movie, but it's like I would have rather not seen the original characters in these movies and wonder where they are in the universe than have them, like Filoni saying, finish off the stories, end their stories, right? There's no like, oh, I wonder, you know what I mean? Like in the future, I wonder if this book will come out. I wonder if this comic will come out now. Well, no, their story's over.
right. There's a hard ending when the character dies, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
again, don't wrong. I like it. When sometimes, like we talked before about consequences and something. Like if nothing ever bad ever happens to any of the good characters, then he doesn't feel believable as much, right? So I think that's important to have too. But at the same time, it's great. Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, they weren't getting any younger, so doing what they do with them, okay, that kind of makes sense. But and when it comes to what Filoni's doing in the Clone Wars universe and all those type of characters, like Cad Bane, he's a bad guy. You don't want to you don't want to kill off that character because you want him to come back, right? You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
I know
Right.
if you watch Book of Fett, Cad Bane makes an appearance, and maybe it looks like he dies at the end of it, but he's not going to be dead. Right, they can beat him. Just he'll come back with more robot parts or
Definitely.
something.
And it's kind of like, I think it's poor writing if you like bring back a legacy character, you bring back, a character that's been around for 20 years or
Yeah.
longer, just to have them die in an episode. Especially someone like so many people like the villains. You love the villains.
Always do.
And he's a very, very cool character. And for him to come back and them to get have him just blasted dead, it's ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
So I like his storytelling and that whole clip I showed you before. It should feel good. It should feel good. And he's got that whole still old Star Wars kind of theory in him, like probably how George Lucas, ran things, where in the original trilogy it had its ups and downs. The prequels, they're the ups and down, right? The first and second movie, it got really dark, and the heroes win in the end. And it doesn't seem like modern Hollywood likes heroes winning in the end. It feels like movies in the 70s, right, where everything was depressing and the hero didn't always win or didn't win. It was just like I don't want to get back to that, because I don't want realism. I want my sci-fi in a galaxy far, far away.
I don't mind dark ending. To me, Empire Strikes Back is the greatest Star Wars movie, and it had bad guys winning at the end, right? So, Infinity War, one of my favorite movies of all time, bad guys won at the end. So I don't mind that. Mixing it up is good, especially if there's another chapter or something. There's nothing wrong with having a little bit of a little bit of uncertainty what's going to happen, right? Sort of thing.
Right, but everyone just didn't die, and no one knew what happened to Han Solo, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. I agree. Like if we talk about the sequel trilogy and bring back legacy characters and killing them off, sort of thing. Like, if you're gonna say kill off a legacy character, let's do it with some impact. I'm gonna say, like, you look at how Han Solo died. I thought it had a lot of impact. It was the impact of the story. I thought it was really good. You look at the second, Last Jedi. Luke dies doing a force projection. What is this lame? Even how Princess, like, if they kill off the Leia's character in the second movie, like when what's his name?
Kylo.
Adam Driver, his name is
Kylo Ren.
Kylo Ren. Thank you. He had a chance to blow up, the rebel ship where Princess Leia was in. That would have made more sense, because that would have been a huge impact on the character development of Kylo Ren. They chickened out of that, and she did their Mary Poppins thing, which was stupid, right? But it could have a really big impact on the character. And then you could have done something really big with Luke Skywalker. She'd go on a big ball of flames of doing something heroic, right? Instead of just sitting on a rock and dying. You go back to Captain Kirk in Star Trek Generations. How did Captain Kirk die? He fell off a bridge.
Fell. Yeah, that's very sad.
Like, I remember watching it going, you got to be kidding me. You killed him by falling off a bridge?
He fell off a bridge.
Like, it was so anticlimactic for this massive hero, right? And so if you're going to do it right. Have big impact, big implications. It affects the storyline. Like, I thought what they did with Han Solo was huge. It was so emotional. It had, it helped develop this character and storyline. Then then Rian Johnson comes and pees all over it, right? So whatever, right? But the big thing is, if you're going to do it, if you're going to kill off a legacy character, do it with some panache, sort of thing, right? Have it relevance, have it mean something.
Well, and the thing with these sequels is that they had a perfect opportunity to make that impact because of the death of Carrie Fisher. That they could have done some reshoots, delay the movie for a month or whatever it is. Like, you would know better than me. Like, it's probably, I don't know how long it would take just to film a few scenes to bring back Luke Skywalker, because it could be like, we saw, like, or to keep Luke in it.
Yeah.
And then he could be that person rallying everyone in episode 9. But they didn't do that, because when I saw her, when she got blasted out of the bridge into space, I thought, oh wow, okay, so because Carrie Fisher passed away, this is how they're going to do it. That was like, because it was like the son doing that. The son killed the father.
Yeah,
I thought was very sad. Like, it hit me. I know people wanted to see him, go out with the blaze of glory and the Millennium Falcon, him and Chewie, Rob. But I thought it was, as a father, and this, to me, that hit me right in the heart. It was like,
absolutely.
When he put his hand on him, on his face, we would do that to our kids. Like, he doesn't hate him.
No, he's like kind of like he was forgiving him. Like, like whatever you need. Obviously, it didn't go the right way for Han, but he did. Like, and even when it happened, he wasn't mad. You know what I'm saying? It's like, whoa! It's like, it was so powerful. It's a great, touching moment. And there was that moment of time that it builds up, and Rian Johnson, I'm gonna avert expectations. I'm just he's not gonna shoot one of the pilots are gonna do it. Like, come on. And then of course then Mary, we already talked about Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins. And stuff.
So it's kind of ridiculous, and again, it just takes that moment away, right? Could have been such a huge character, just even more send Kylo Ren down that dark path, and then you could have kept Luke for the end to go to the stupid Sith planet because it was stupid, but he could have a big more impact where he could do something, rally the troops, and and he dies that Ray, it's up to you. And he does something, boom, then she's that would have been made much more sense and have more impact, right? You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, like I said, they could have done that. They could have made all their changes right at the end where he didn't die on that rock.
yeah,
That he's still force projected, and then he realizes he has to join the fight.
yes,
Luke Skywalker in Episode 9. How clean is that?
well, there you go. And then
one scene they had to cut. One scene.
Absolutely would have fixed the whole movie.
Yep.
Would have fixed the whole movie.
Yeah, it
and
would have made people. Yeah.
Then Carrie Fisher wouldn't have to pass the stupid dice off to Ray either in the bunker, and I wouldn't have to complain about those
all that
dice.
mess with using old cut scenes of Carrie Fisher to fill into, because they're like, well, Harrison Ford got the first one and Mark Hamill gets the second one, Carrie Fisher gets the third one, which I think was a stupid plan to begin with. Like, Mark Hamill regretfully tweeted that picture that illustration someone made of all of them on the bridge of the Falcon.
Yeah.
And he said missed opportunity.
Yeah.
He got flack from Lucasfilm on that, but screw them. But they could have did that. And again, people were like, oh, we're trying to move on. But you can move on, be respectful, and include the old cast, handing off the torch to the new cast without killing them all or, making them losers or whatever else. And you could have had that one scene that would have made everyone happy, even people who weren't happy the movies are being made by Disney. That one scene of them on a bridge, that photo would have lasted forever. And one scene fixed at the end of The Last Jedi. Cut.
Yep.
And you see Luke arrive in his X-Wing in Episode 9 to pull his head out of his butt and be a leader. And
there's a missed opportunity. And then you would have J.J. Abrams have a plot point to work with without having to try and fix a whole entire second film. Like, Kylo Ren has a helmet on the first movie. Then he destroys the second one. Then he repairs it for the third. You know what I'm saying? It's just stupid. It just nothing made sense. It's just like, it's just they could have he could have just he wants to beat Darth Vader, killing his mom and his father would have been something that would have made him it's pretty badass. You know what I'm saying? That would have been more than what Anakin ever did. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, he didn't slaughter youth, but
yeah, and I think that it would have been. It would have made everything, like when JJ came in to kind of do the last movie, having Luke come in, it would have made people forget a lot of the stuff that made him angry about the previous movie. And even if some of the story was wonky in Rise of, or whatever they would have called it then, or maybe Rise of Skywalker would have made sense because it would have been Luke getting off the island and joining the fight again.
Absolutely, yeah, right. You could have kept the same stupid title, yeah.
Right? It was kind of like it would have made sense. The original trilogy, right? Return of the Jedi, Rise of Skywalker. It was the same thing, right? Comes out of defeat, becomes the Jedi he was meant to be. Comes out of defeat, moping on an island, becomes the Jedi Master he was always meant to be. Or still.
Yeah.
But we don't, we weren't there. They didn't consult us. They didn't care.
Again, this whole conversation goes back to legacy characters and how Filoni is paying attention to details in his writing, his scripting, and how he uses his characters from all the Star Wars universe, and how he's very careful how he uses them. They stay on tangent, like, this is a person's character, this is his character. Right. They don't all of a sudden develop a totally different personality. Let's say like angry Luke, you know what I'm saying? That was totally against brand. Like, he's good in Darth Vader, but I'm going to kill my nephew because I saw a thing he's going to be bad. What? You know what I'm saying? It just totally doesn't make sense for the character. So,
right.
If you can pull Darth Vader to the good side, it's possible you can save your nephew who's a teenager.
Yeah, he was just, some peer pressure from this guy that was influencing. Like, you couldn't go and stop the guy from bugging your nephew. So you're like, I know what's a better idea. I'll kill my nephew, my sister's
Son,
child.
yeah.
Like, I just think
So
it's
and it's important. That's why Filoni,
yes.
again, he Lucas entrusted him with the Clone Wars, right? He passed that torch off to him because there was trust, there was a bond set up, and then Filoni is doing a really good job not to destroy that trust. Even though Lucas isn't in charge of Lucasfilms anymore, you
Yeah.
know that him and Favreau want to try to make sure that he's going to be happy, as in George Lucas is going to be happy what they're doing with this universe that he created, right?
Well, not to
And
mention that they're fans. They don't want to see all their favorite characters die either for the sake of being edgy or a modern audience because they love these characters. So they're like, I just want them in front of the camera. I'm going to nerd out. I'm going to film them and do cool stories. Like
yeah,
Favreau teared up when R2D2 was on the set. R2D2.
a trash can that moves, exactly.
But it's amazing because that story, right? That I think Filoni was talking about. It was like last season or something, like when they were bringing Luke in, and Filoni says to Favreau, "Well, you know what? If you get Luke, you get R2, right? Because it's the character
Yeah.
they're together." And he was just like, "Well, it's
Well,
amazing.
again,
It's amazing."
even though he's behind the scenes, he knows it's a
Right.
shell. He knows as an actor that helps perform or technicians, right? But it's still the thing is to him, even though he's a director, he's behind the scenes. That character of R2D2 is alive. You know what I'm saying?
It's the
You know what I'm saying?
nostalgia, right? When you're a kid, you could remember how these characters made you feel, how your favorite toy made you feel. And I mean, that's why you look at the market nowadays with vintage toys and stuff, right? People are like, oh, you sent me a video earlier, sorry, that was Adam, wasn't it?
As Adam, I think. Yeah.
It was, it was
I
that.
said the comedian. The
Yeah,
comedian.
the
Yeah.
comedian. Sorry.
Yes. It's like I don't have a bed, but I have 3 bat caves
Yeah,
because he likes to collect action figures and toys. So
exactly. So
yeah.
I just think it's that, but it's the nostalgia of it. And when you have, a grown man that could see a character like R2D2 that was the special thing that when he was a kid, you're just like, wow. And this is the and R2D2 and there's Luke and stuff and all this kind of stuff just kind of must hit because you never hear much about that from directors or producers, right? Because they're kind of outside of whatever they're filming. But for someone who's you know mentally or emotionally involved in the fandom, it must be just a really cool thing. But
Well, absolutely right. Like we're that generation, Steve, where we were young. We're so influential at 5 years old when Star Wars comes out, right? So that's
yeah,
pretty huge. And then like the whole entire action figure craze hit with Star Wars, right? So we grew up with that. So there's a reason why our rooms look like this because of that, because it brought so much joy to us as kids. And then you get older, you're like, it's still kind of fun to have. They look cool. Look how much cooler they are now compared to what they were, right? So again, it's the whole you're saying is press that nostalgia button, like the whole thing, keeping these characters alive. And like you mentioned this so many times, how all these series they had that Star Wars feel, right? And that's what's
mhm,
important. If you're gonna make new characters and like Mandalorian's a new character,
mhm,
similar armor as Boba Fett, but totally different character. None of the Skywalker legacy characters were involved. Okay, but you still have to make it feel like Star Wars, and
mhm.
they did such a great job of it, right? So, that's what's being successful, and that's what's their bread and butter. And again, you need to have those people involved with the projects to make sure that they're carrying on that torch.
And they made it feel like 70s, 80s Star Wars.
Absolutely.
All the practical, they had the new technology and stuff, but I love the amount of practical effects, practical creatures, practical people.
When I'm seeing stormtroopers and people in suits, I'm excited, right? Like, that's
Yeah.
what, like, I'm Trooper Todd for a reason. Like, don't get me wrong. What George Lucas and the visual effects teams did for episode 2 and 3, they did a really good job. But it's not the same as seeing a character in an outfit, like having the actors, the stuntmen in actual stormtrooper outfits. That's where it's like,
Right.
oh, you
I know.
feel it, you feel it, you see it. It has more texture to it, right? It's just a different thing entirely.
Well, speaking of the phenomenon that is the Mandalorian, this came out. What was it? A couple weeks ago. We haven't had a chance to discuss it, but it's kind of a featurette of the phenomena of the Mandalorian. There's a little behind the scenes and some talk with Favreau and Filoni, and I thought we would have a gander at this and kind of discuss it at the end here.
Okay.
This team has given us 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, with
there
another
she is.
season on the way. Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni.
We get into this because we're fans.
The people working on this
That's
feel
it,
just like you
right
guys
there.
do. The legacy of it, it means something to them.
It is this mix of talent, everyone just bringing it week after week.
I think we've got some really good Jedi working on this series.
I'm very proud of The Mandalorian. It's about becoming part of something larger than yourself.
For a while.
This is the way.
Did you expect The Mandalorian to become such a global phenomenon?
Honestly, I was just happy to get to make Star Wars.
See, this is the kind of talk that's legitimate.
I mean, it's been incredibly surreal to watch the show blow up like this.
The men for the door.
Baby Yoda from The Mandalorian, who I think might be able to unite the country.
He's stolen everybody's heart. Hi, Grogu.
For a generation of kids now, Grogu represents something
There
that
he is.
are
That's
too
so cool.
represented to me.
Breakout star.
The most carefully guarded surprise to date, Luke Skywalker's appearance.
For people to be able to discover that in real time was magical.
Wow.
To see the reactions. Oh my God. That was a high point of my whole career. Makes you
That's
grateful
so cool.
that you're doing what you're doing.
Everywhere I've gone, people want to talk about The Mandalorian. And to now have the 3rd season ready to present to the public.
We thought it might be fun to show a sneak peek.
You have removed your helmet. And you are a Mandalorian no more.
All right, kid. Hang on.
And us 2 seasons of Mandalorian.
What I love, Steve, I love watching
Very,
videos.
very cool.
I love watching videos of people reacting to things, and I like the little touch they had, the people reacting to watching Luke Skywalker show up. I love those type of videos. I don't know why. It's just always kind of cool to see people's excitement when they blow up and they see stuff, right? So I like how they included that into this little teaser thing.
Well, I I should have been filming myself because I was I think I've talked about this several times. I was losing my mind like I was watching the Stanley Cup or the Super Bowl or something like that happening. I because totally threw me off. I told you this a million times already. I thought it was Ahsoka returning for some reason in an X-wing. That never dawned on me that it was Luke at all. Not at all.
Yeah,
It was
I
crazy.
I remember I had a feeling it was Luke, and I was like, oh, they're doing it. I was pretty excited, but like you just never know. I know for some reason I remember being really excited about Cad Bane showing up in Book of Fett, and I don't know why, but I really was, because one character I was watching the Clone Wars at that point in time, and Cad Bane was in lots of episodes, and I was like, oh, this is a great character, and just the fact that he popped up in the real world. And it looks so good. I was like so stoked for that, right? Where I've seen Luke before. Again, I know again that was very impactful and it was really really cool. But I was just, I guess I was more excited to see how this animated character transitioned to the real world sort of thing. But again, reactions still really excited when I saw Luke. But again, I love those reaction videos. They're kind of fun to watch to see. Like whenever a big trailer comes out for a Star Wars or a Marvel movie, I always watch these people reacting to the trailers, and I just think it's so much fun to watch people react.
Yeah, it's true. Some of it, I think it's, because in the beginning people were doing that and it got a lot of traction. So then sometimes I don't know how much is legitimate now, but it's still fun to watch and stuff. But like I said, it was so, and throughout that, when they're talking like what Filoni is saying, Favreau's saying, we're fans, we love these characters, we love this, we want to do the best for that, like everything, all the right words, and it doesn't sound like an executive telling it. It sounds like a fan who's running a show.
Well, that's a big difference. There's when Catherine Kennedy says something, I'm like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna lie when she's saying like, just stop talking. Because like you're just blah 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 blah, like but just when people really mean what they're saying, you feel it, you know what I'm saying? And like just
you can tell if they know what they're talking about, if they really mean it. There's that Hollywood executive speak that I guess when you get older you can recognize a little more. So but I wanted to, before they released this 40-second clip from one of the episodes of The Mandalorian, and I just thought it'd be cool to watch.
I'm sure it won't be a huge part, but it'll just be a nice little teaser.
It's just a scene, and it's really the best part for me. You'll see it. It's Grogu. It's kind of funny.
As I was saying, there's beautiful available right here by the flats.
I appreciate the offer, but I have some matters to look after.
Well, I'm confused. I thought you had completed your mission, but you're still running around here with the same little critter.
It's complicated. I completed my quest. He returned to me. I removed my helmet, and now I'm an apostate.
Which is all the more reason for you to stay here with us. Where you're from, you may be an apostate, but here, you'd be landed gentry.
Wow. Again, they're touching on all the fans' heartstrings, right? Oh, don't worry, Grogu's back, and look, he's funny. You know what I'm saying? So and he's cute. So they're doing a really good job marketing strategy to make sure that people know that.
Right.
Again, the whole scene's about him being back, right? So people aren't worried. If I'm not watching because I got rid of Grogu, my favorite character, now that people know that Grogu is still there.
And that's the thing. Grief's like, oh, you're back with him because of the confusion for those who didn't watch the Book of Boba Fett, right? And it's like, oh, but you're back with him? It's complicated. I find that really funny. It's like that whole scene was just to kind of explain why he's there.
Yeah, and again, the whole thing is like saying it's complicated. It's kind of funny too because it's complicated unless you watch Book of Fett, which you should do if you haven't watched it. Go watch Book of Fett. It's really entertaining. Maybe it's not Mandalorian, but it's still really really good.
Well, there's a good portion of it that's Mandalorian. Mandalorian. There's Luke. Spoilers. Too bad. You had like a year to watch.
You had lots of time to watch it. Luke makes it appear, and we have there's a Black Wookiee. Black
Chrysanthemum. Where is
he? He's worth watching for sure. There's skinny Gamorrean guards because they're not fed so well. There's lots going on. It builds up nicely, and then there's a big, huge scene. The final episode, it's a big collaboration of characters coming together, and Mandalorian teams up with Boba Fett and does because the whole entire series you're waiting for Boba Fett to do something. The last episode, Boba Fett does lots. There's possibly a Rancor in it. So if you haven't seen Book of Fett, make sure you watch it. That's worth watching it. Danny Trejo is a Rancor trainer. That's worth watching for sure.
I know, just for him.
Yeah,
being the Rancor trainer, but hopefully there's no talk. I doubt it's going to happen, but I was hoping for a season 2.
A Book of Fett?
Yeah.
I thought, maybe I missed. Maybe I didn't hear anything about it.
I was hoping. Like I haven't heard much talk about it, but I could be wrong. But I
It's
think
possible.
I think it needs a season 2.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks from now, so March 1st, under 2 weeks now, Book of Boba Fett is starting, and
No, Mandalorian season 3.
or sorry, Mandalorian. God, I'm still stuck. Mandalorian season 3. I cannot wait. I'm looking forward to the big battle. I'm really curious of what's going to happen to Din, to the Mando at the end, if he's going to be alive, or if they're going to move on for the show, season 3, the end. Probably.
I imagine he would. Again, you're talking about you're the one saying, don't kill off legacy characters. Now you want to get rid of Mando.
No, I don't know how they're going to do that, because I don't think Pedro Pascal, he might not even be around to do voice for it. I mean, I'm sure that's easy job for him, but he'll probably live. But are they going to go past season 3? Probably not. I hope they do.
Again, he's probably a contract for 3 seasons, and they'll have to pay him more, right? Like you want your act to stick around, to pay him. Like let's face it, like he's pretty big right now. Like
That's
huge.
what I mean. He's really big.
He owes lots of it to Mandalorian, and now he's in another series that's doing very, very well, and that's The Last of Us. That's doing very, very well. He's been in lots of movies lately. So I think it was being busy, but there's also what helped you rise to stardom, right? So
so we will see. I'm looking forward to this. This is the one where I'm gonna get my action and story and who knows what else.
I also want to say before we end this thing, if you haven't watched the last couple episodes, I haven't seen the one released this week of Bad Batch. The last 2 episodes that were released last week, must watch. So good. There's talking about legacy characters. A legacy character makes a big appearance in what episode was it? Episode 8? Is it episode 8? Can't remember episode. 8, yes.
8. Yes, it was.
Yeah,
8.
so it was a legacy character makes an appearance in episode 8, and it's awesome. It's really, really good. So if you haven't watched it, you should watch Bad Batch for sure. You love Star Wars, you'll love that.
Yeah. So don't hate. Go watch it.
Right.
Bad Batch is great. Bad Batch is great. I watched the episode from this week today.
Oh, did you? Was it good? Was it good?
Yeah. It's good. It's good. It's kind of a middle story part, but it's good. More character development, which is what I like.
There's Crosshairs in it?
No spoilers, dude.
Oh, okay.
We'll watch it.
I'll have to watch it.
All right. And with that, thanks everyone that tuned in or is listening to it afterwards, not live. So not sure what the next episode is going to be about, but it'll probably be some kind of reaction to some news or something, or maybe we'll just talk about the old days from 2 old guys.
Lots to talk about.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Todd.
Thanks, you.
You guys, next time. Do. I'm going to get sued.